Hello, my dears. Welcome. Irini Hara streaming again from Oslo with another episode in our podcast Tales from the Womb, following up the festival I organized in March, the first International Women Festival with the same name, between 6 and 8 March. And today I bring you Ingrid Brudevoll. Welcome, Ingrid. Nice
Ah,
to have you
thank
here.
you.
She is a five rhythms movement teacher based in Oslo. And dance is her refuge, sanctuary, and also a resource for healing and renewal. And she has been teaching movement to various populations for more than 30 years, as she sees embodiment as a great resource for self-esteem and well-being. Very nice said. We need more of these resources in our life.
I agree.
Thank you again for being here with us. You have been one of the guests at our festival in March. And I think people will also be curious to know a little bit more about you, not only as a facilitator of five rhythms. So, would you like to share with us few of the thoughts or impressions about who you are as a woman, maybe as a mother, or whatever you want to share?
Yes, I am the mother of one young man, and that has been a good practice for me because I think that um, I learned a lot about mothering from being a mother. And for example, every time I had to sort of, oh, does he have enough underwear? Because he grew, and oh, do I have enough? And I went through my own things, so I learned sort of mothering myself a bit through being a mother. Um, yeah, and I love being a mother a lot. I'm also a daughter, of course, and I had three siblings. And we grew up in a typical Norwegian way with lots of outdoors all year round, on the water and in the forest and in the mountains. So I think our upbringing was, I thought, when I grew up, we didn't even have TV. So we got the TV when I was 14. My parents actually did it quite late. Some got it earlier, but um, we didn't know anything else, so we thought that was like the normal.
Mm.
Everybody had to go skiing every Sunday all winter. So for me, it was very normal, but now I see that it was actually rather exceptional that we were that much
Yes, you
outdoors.
are fortunate.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a certain kind of toughness that we had to. It was expected from us that we shouldn't complain about weather conditions.
It's not the weather, it's the clothing, they say in Norway. You need
It's
to know how
only
to
bad
clothe.
clothes, yeah. So
Yeah.
you have to get dressed for the weather. That's your job. Yeah, and ut I skogen, up I trærne, just get out and climb up the trees and have fun. Yeah.
So, do you feel you grew up in a very more like Spartan way somehow,
Yeah, I think
compared to
actually,
other children?
especially my father is kind of ascetic. I think his values, in retrospect, I can see that. Yeah,
Mm.
he thought that a lot of things were unnecessary. He was not interested in luxury of any kind. He sort of had a very sarcastic view on all these new luxury things. And most people thought it was nice with all these new things that came to Norway in the 70s, but and the 80s. But he was quite, no, we don't need that. And again, it's actually a good thing that we had kind of good values in a way. So
Simple but good and
yeah,
strong. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I must appreciate that. Even though my mother wasn't quite content, she would have liked more luxury. So that was sort of like a conflict in the home. But Yeah, I mean, the way I see it now, that I have been very privileged, like in living in a safe country and been, maybe I'm like one of the 5% of women on the planet that can really be a free person.
Yeah,
So I don't know how many percent, but I think it's a privileged position.
of course.
Yeah.
How did you get to dancing? Was a first life kind of experience or something that you learned over time?
Well, I did go to dance school when I was little. That was part of my upbringing too, like learning waltz and cha-cha-cha and all of
Wow.
that. Yeah. So that was not considered luxury. That was some necessity.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really liked that. But when I was in my young age, like after I was finished with high school, I wanted to go away, far away, and somebody had that I knew had been in the US as an au pair, as we call it. When you live with a family
Yes.
and you babysit.
Yes.
And I got to take over her job. So I went to the US for a year and I got so many new perspectives. And when I got back home from that, it was like my life started again. And I started to look for other things. And I went, one day I met a guy who lived in this village for handicapped people run by anthroposophists. And after a while, I went for a visit and started to work there. And that's where I got into eurythmy, the movement art.
Hmm.
And then I didn't know what I wanted to be. I thought I was pretty good in school. I probably could have done something academic, but I didn't really know what I wanted. So, and then somebody said that I should really study eurythmy. I had a very talent for that. So, so then I did. So I studied eurythmy. So, because I was really into anthroposophy and I wanted to work with healing through movement. And then I changed my mind. It was a long education, and I did 2 years, 2.5 years in Norway and 2 years in Berlin. And I got very interested in the arts, so I started to make theater when I got home. That was one of my passions for many years. I made children's performances and fairy tales. That was
Wow.
yeah, one thing that I was very interested in because I liked fairy tales. They are very well known in Norway. We have some very old ones here, and everybody know them. At least when we did this in the 90s, the fairy tale theater was quite popular. So I thought that was a way of sort of including many people into these strange things that I was doing. Yeah. So yeah, that was the way in. And then into movement, I did. It was definitely movement theater. We did. We called it musikalsk fortellerteater. So it was like it was narrative.
Musical performance also.
Yeah, yeah. So we had musicians and they were sort of following the story, and we were only two actors, so we did all the characters. And then we would switch through movement, into different characters, animals, whatever. So, yeah, that was fun. Uh,
Hmm.
I really loved that.
Yeah, I
Actually,
think
the main reason why I did it because there was no children's theater in that city where I lived when I had my son. So that's actually probably, other than that, I wouldn't have done it because I wouldn't have dared. Yeah. So
for sure you brought joy and fun to the city
yeah,
by doing it.
yeah. But my day job was actually to teach children movement. Yeah. So
Mm.
I've been teaching every level from kindergarten to what do you call it? Also högskole.
High
Like
school. High school.
graduate, not high
Ah,
school.
the graduate, the university.
Teacher students.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Like college, I guess.
College.
Yeah,
Yes, college. Yeah.
yeah. So I was teaching eurythmy for 10 years. And then, yeah. So after that, I've been, yeah, doing different things. Also, like, yeah, I kept teaching actually, but that was specifically teaching eurythmy every day, like movement every day.
Mm.
And then I started as a special education teacher, and I really liked that too. And I made some some of those kids. Uh, I helped some of them very much with dancing and theater,
Mm.
some kind of theater that we managed to do with autistic children actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that might be very interesting.
that is very interesting to
They
talk
need to
about.
move, yes, to
Yeah,
experience the body. Yeah.
yeah, and it was particularly challenging. So I think that I had a lot of different experiences with teaching all kinds of populations, or people with different handicaps and young refugees and all kinds of people. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And what did you find most challenging in this work? Because I know it's a hard work. I mean, I really praise those who work with
Yeah.
differently abled categories of people.
The most challenging was probably certain age groups, like yeah, in the young, like teenagers, if
Yeah,
they have specific prejudice against movement. Yes.
it's rebellion time when
Yeah.
you are a teenager. I see with my son. It's not
Yeah.
easy to make them do something if they don't want.
No. I have to be very clever as a teacher to find out how to fool them into moving.
Yes.
And of course, it's very vulnerable to move, For a lot of people, just to lift your arms, it's like, no, no, it's very embarrassing.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah, we limit ourselves a lot
exactly.
with what we allow ourselves to do.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful. So a lot of experience with embodiment and movement. That it's
yeah,
very, very interesting. And
yeah.
you have been very actively participating to festival, not only as a guest, as a facilitator for your session in the first day,
Mm,
but also as just participating also in other guest presentations or lectures or workshops.
mm,
And I would like to know your perception of how was for you this experience, because for me it has been very intense. I was also hosting, so all the time in front of the computer, but also attending to all the sessions. And
yeah,
I received a lot. I felt I released and activated a lot of things.
yeah,
I'm very tired at the end.
yeah.
But I would like to know a different opinion, maybe.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I couldn't, I actually was also like very impressed by the variety you had managed to gather in this festival, and so many different perspectives. And I had to be away for some of them, but still it was so rich. For me, it was like super exotic with some of the people from East Europe, and even the one from Azerbaijan, was it? I
No,
think
it was Kazakhstan, the
Kazakhstan.
people,
Yeah, that was
Scarlett.
for me like wow, quite exotic for me.
Yes, interesting.
And yeah, but and so such variety, and and some of them were very calm and beautiful, um, all different kinds of aspects of going into this feminine sphere, and and lots of things in common too. Like I also know from my five rhythms teaching, which is also called a feminine path. So and that's very radical, so it's for in our society, and we had lots of feminism in Norway. I grew up with, some of the men I know, they call it state feminism. So for us, it was like, for some of our kids, it was like, oh, can a man be prime minister? Because we had a woman prime minister for so many years, and she was like the mother of the nation. So,
Yeah.
so we had lots of that. We call likestilling. I don't know what you say in English. Uh, Equal
I
rights.
how equal rights. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Equal rights. Yeah.
yeah, but what's really the feminine? That's a different question. So we wasn't so much into that, like with our outdoorsy values and being out in the cold and whatever, So we had to
Yeah.
be kind of
That needs a more
soft.
masculine strength
Yeah,
and power.
yeah, right. So, and then at one point I started to notice this in myself, that I had lots of tension in my body, and I think this kind of questions, like maybe I would have needed, even if I did learn to dance when I was little, I would have loved to dance even more, and I would have loved to be in a different kind of atmosphere where softer values could be, would have been something for me. I read a lot of books, and I cried, oh, a lot of over these stories that I read, and so I had my own inner life that was much more maybe sensitive. So I think this is very interesting now for me, that it's so much going on in this area that addresses this so directly, like through the womb, which is, of course, the most feminine part that we have. And it's like this, it is really this inner secret life. So, yeah, I think it's fantastic that these younger girls now, women, can sort of have this as a possibility to go into that. And I'm already soon probably a grandmother, so you know, I'm in a different life phase. So sort of, I kind of got a lot of that sort of after this bringing up my son and all that was over. Then, oh no, there's a new chance, to go into some new things. I also did an education in constellations and trauma constellations. So I
Hmm.
started to look at my ancestry. Things came up, from grandmothers and great grandmothers and all this. So I noticed
Mm.
that that really helped me a lot, to go into that. So there's so much there.
Yeah, and we had two interventions or three speaking actually about this, about our own lineage,
Yes.
how we inherited trauma from the lineage and
Yeah.
many dynamics that can influence our life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can't. I don't know if I should. I can't really pick out one. If the first one that comes to my mind was Kazakhstan, because it was like such a different attitude, and so strong, in her experience. But I loved all of the different contributions in their different ways. The French connection you had there was very beautiful. Yeah.
The
So
rose, yeah, the rose practice. Yeah.
yes, and also the first one who spoke.
Mike
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Belgium.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
in France, but she's Belgian. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Witnessing the
Yeah,
one. Yes.
yeah. So, but I think. and also Miras from Norway. Yeah,
The tantric approach of the
yeah,
lotus flower. Yeah,
yes, that's tantric.
yeah,
So yes, I just love the variety and the different ways people have to find their way back to these mysteries
yes.
that
It's a
we
kind of
have.
mystery school. It's
Yeah,
true.
yes, it is a mystery school for sure. And I think in our society today, with all the misogyny coming back up in such a crazy way that we have now, it's maybe it's good in a way as a contrast that will make people even more interested in this. So it might
Yeah.
become, as a subculture, it's very important, I think, in this day and age.
Yes, it's a contribution on many different levels for our growth and understanding who we are as women and as womb carriers.
Mm,
But when we organize these kind of gatherings, it's much like the energy itself. It ripples around,
mm,
even if we don't see it and understand it right away.
mm,
More of these gatherings we organize, more this space
mm,
is amplifying in the world.
mm,
And yeah, it's a way to contrast other movements or trends that are quite harmful and dangerous.
mm,
And we see what's happening nowadays in the world with the wars and conflicts and
mm,
yeah, the way certain even generations behave because they lacked something fundamental
mm,
in their early experience and so on.
mm,
So I'm glad that you actually can speak about it and see the value of it, and it motivates me to continue also for next
mm.
year.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
brought,
you're really good at this.
yeah, I got the experience now. I have to
Yeah,
keep working on this.
yeah.
You brought a very beautiful offering to the festival. It actually ended the first day with this beautiful session of vibrating dancing.
Mm,
And you dedicated somehow this to a specific goddess from the Norse pantheon, Freya.
yeah.
Actually, now in spring is her energy that comes back a lot.
Mm,
Would you like to speak about why you chose her and
mm,
what was the message she brought through movement and how you guided the session?
yeah. Yeah, why did I choose Freya? You know, uh, my interest in the Norse mythology has grown the last few years. It wasn't there before. I didn't grow up with that, even though the values, I think we have them still, but we don't talk about. We didn't have a Christian upbringing in my family. It was just, nature was our probably God, but not religious at all. But uh, it's about, I think it's actually 14 years ago now that I came visited the Lakota people in the US through a long story that I'm not going to tell right now. But after that, I slowly started to become more interested in the Norse myths. Just it took years, very slowly. But yeah, and when you invited me, I thought, yeah, one of the things I like about the Norse myths is that we have so many goddesses, not just one god, but lots of gods and lots of beings, all kinds of beings, from all kinds of elements and spheres and 9 worlds, so such a variety. I love it. And we don't have to go to Hinduism, actually we have it. So and then I started to look more through the literature I have, and so I was going to find out which ones I was going to focus on or how I was going to form this session with you. And I had 1 hour, so and then at the point was just no, it has to be Freya. Like, that's enough. Freya is the one, and she's enough. And that was such a nice task to make a wave for Freya. I felt that I got much closer to her after finding the music, and I found some newer music too that I have never been able to use for five rhythms because it's very exotic, because now people are starting to produce new music with some even with using the Proto-Germanic text, like from the runic inscriptions they find, and like really old poetry from the Eddas and Old Norse language and stuff. So I could use some of those with different beats. It was very exotic, actually, this Freya wave.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And it was good to move the body after one day of sitting at the computer.
yeah,
And I remember in particular when you switch the rhythm for it was more soft and then suddenly enter into the war
yeah,
energy. And
yeah,
that was really a little bit heavy.
yeah,
Still in the heaviness, it
yeah,
carried something feminine. So
yes.
it was not the war energy that you will think it's masculine and it's very harsh and very
Mm,
how to say violent somehow. And it was a little bit more on a softer side of
yes.
the
That
fight. And yeah,
Yeah, that was so exciting to look for that music. And that music I had already. That's from Heilung, this band?
yes, I know the band. I'm following it.
Oh my God,
I
I
like
went to
it.
their concert. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
And and it's so soft. And that's also and it fits very well. I didn't know this when I saw their concert, but after reading about it now, that Freya was also the war goddess and she was leading the Valkyrie, the ones who were
yeah,
picking out the ones who died in battle. They would come to the good place after they died, and she had the first pick, not Odin. He had the second pick, right? Everybody knows about Odin. Nobody knows about Freya. So, but she was there inspiring the warriors, and with all her Valkyrie, there were lots of them. They had names and everything, like, you know, inspiring the warriors. And
yeah.
the way they do this in Heilung with this beautiful voice of what's her name? I forget. The singer, the woman singer. Yeah. And some of those, I listened to some interviews with the band too, that they had so much healing in their own lives from this going into this kind of strong energy. And
Yes,
not so much this new age thing that we're going all one just gonna be kind and lovely, beautiful and sexy. Yes, we can be that, but you also have to be strong, and you also have to be able to fight sometimes.
yes.
And
We need to
lots of
battle.
healing. Yeah, yeah.
We go to battle often. Yeah,
Battle. Life is a battlefield too.
yes,
Not always, but you have to fight for what you love sometimes.
yes. And it's interesting that in my own understanding of the way women or men would fight,
Mm.
to a certain extent, fighting is also about defending something and protecting, as you said.
Yes.
It's not always attacking because attacking in my mind it means a lot of energy of masculine. You go to war, you go against someone.
Yeah.
But instead, the feminine will always try to protect and defend more than just
Yes.
going and fighting against.
Yes. Exactly.
And that was the energy that you brought through the music and through movement.
Yeah.
And I actually love it very, very much. And I think you also brought some music from Ivor, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah. 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 I'm a
one
great,
of my
great
favorite
fan of Ivor.
musicians here in Norway.
She, yeah. Last year I went to three concerts. She was in Oslo three times with her,
Oh,
and I just I think I've posted on Facebook, she is the goddess.
She has an amazing voice.
Yeah.
For who doesn't know her, search on YouTube Trolla Bundin. That is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
her
Yeah,
marks in terms of singing. The
yeah,
way she uses the voice in that is
yeah.
amazing. And
It's
also
amazing.
drumming and other stuff, but the voice is
Mm,
the
fantastic.
fantastic part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
She has all aspects of the feminine, I would say. Really.
Yes.
You know, all that softness, the heart, the loving, beautiful feminine energy, and then also this fighter spirit, the actually quite, I find it side, that's what Freya knew, what we call side. I don't know how to translate it, but that is the magic, that is
Magic. Yeah.
the way you, yeah, you get those sounds out.
Well, I think that the great artists and those who bring a special flavor, they always are somehow channels of something else, of
Oh, yes,
energies,
indeed.
and they bring these energies forward so we can enjoy. And sometimes healing happens also while we dance or while we listen to music. It
Oh,
happens a lot when I come to your classes because you hold classes in Oslo on Mondays and also workshops sometimes on weekends. Often I get into some mystical, almost ecstatic experiences, and
okay.
I receive messages. I actually receive goddess presence sometimes, and it's so beautiful
Yes.
to have this kind of energy also
Yeah.
while we enjoy our body in movement with the
Yes.
music
Mm.
and with
Yeah.
voices.
It's something about the way the rhythms are put together by Gabriel Ross. It's through experience. It's not from like, yeah, probably inspiration, a lot of inspiration, but through
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
So it's inviting all kinds of, we are a mystery. We are a wandering
yes.
mystery. Yeah.
And it's worth it to explore the mystery as long as we
Yes,
are alive.
yes, yes. It's all there. It's all there in each and every one of us. So, all these distractions and all these, yeah, crazy things that we do all the time to keep ourselves distracted from reality.
Yeah,
It's taking us away from this mystery. But
exactly.
when we return to the body, then it's all there.
It's all there. We
Yeah.
just need to listen and connect.
Yes.
Oh, and with the womb. Don't forget the womb because that is a very mystical and mysterious place for
Yes.
many.
And it is also in our tradition, five rhythms called the movement center,
The movement center,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's like in the middle of the womb somewhere. Like,
it is probably
yeah,
like the kind of portal
yeah,
that is receptive and also can create and give a lot to
yeah.
the
Where
world.
all movement starts and ends.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I don't always say this so often in the classes, but in it's more like in specific workshops. Yeah, because it's kind of abstract if you don't. Where's the center? It's not like a point, in the map that in the physiological map that there is a center, but the center of gravity is also there in the middle there somewhere.
Yes,
Mm. Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
Yes, I'm very happy to discuss with you. We are slowly approaching the end of the interview, but
yes.
before this, I would like to know if you have some words or advice or insights for those who listen to this interview from you as facilitators or women or whatever role you want to be in.
Yeah, that would be to trust your own. We call it in Norwegian magefølelse. It's like a stomach
Gut
feeling,
feeling, gut
gut
feeling.
feeling.
Yes,
Yeah, so that's the probably the best indicator of your instincts and your inspiration and what you really know somewhere deep uh, that you maybe don't always trust because you think somebody else knows better or you can't really explain why, but I think what we know, we know. Yes. So
And we need to trust what we know,
trust
what we
that,
feel. Yeah.
trust this instinctive knowing. If
And
you
move your
feel,
body.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. If you feel threatened, then you probably might be threatened, you know, so go away. Yes. For example. Yeah. Like,
Mm.
yeah. Mm, something like that would be my
Beautiful.
advice.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. It was a joy
Mm,
and a privilege to have you today for this conversation. I really enjoy it.
mm,
And I think we end here. All contact data about Ingrid, in case you want to connect with her and know more about her lessons and workshops, will be in the description of the episode once it's posted here on
yes.
YouTube.
Mm,
And then you can share the link. But I invite you also to subscribe to the channel so we can have updates on future contents. There will be other episodes of this podcast too in the
mm.
future. And just like and share the episode or other contents that you will find there. Thank you again. I wish you a smooth sailing in the waters of spring. Now we have sun here. Hopefully it will last.
Yeah. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Enjoy
Thank
it
you.
today. Bye. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye.